Hello. How is everybody doing? It is Wednesday, February 21st. Wow, I'm already screwing up. And this is the RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs. We do not have a Corbin Davenport this week either. My understanding is he was captured by Raiders. They're doing horrible, despicable things to him. And, well, you know, what could we do? We sent out a search party. He's, it seems he actually wants to stay with him. I'm not really sure what's up, but I guess the horrible, despicable things they're doing, they may fit with his personality. Anyway, hello to Curvy Mermaid, Austin, Diablo, T. Pharrell, and David. Wow, we have people joining chat quickly today, for reasons that will make no sense to anybody else. I also just realized I forgot to plug in my watch, so I'm doing that right now as I speak. Anyway, so this was quite the week of not whose blood is that green screen covering up? I didn't say I was one of the Raiders. That's not how this works. David, you proposed turning Corbin into an AI to fill in. Can we do that? That actually could work. I'm not against this idea. Somebody got a good AI model that we could use for that. Maybe one that's free to use and can run on somebody's laptop. I hear such things exist. And that may be on the topic list, in fact. Anyway. So, it has been a week. Things have happened. Some things have happened. Not many things. But also many things all at once. Let's see. I've got a bit of a new interest side project, but that probably I think I'll save that one for a little later. Curvy had dinner, now back to the PC. Hooray. But let's just hit the obvious one, the one that kind of happened this week. It happened sort of with a thud. Android 15 Developer Preview 1. Yes, the next major update for Android, the latest stage of its growth, it's here. Yes, also T. Pharrell brings up a good point. On Sunday, this channel officially crossed the 200 subscriber mark. Of course, it is admittedly mostly gamers. Not so much for the tech podcast side of it, but hey, it is what it is. I am not complaining. And hooray, we are growing. We're growing steadily. We are growing strong. And somehow my other channel still sits dormant. One of these days, something will. One of these days, I will upload to it. I promise this. Oh, David, yeah, this week's most significant news, Google's Android Miniature. Yes, the latest Dead Zebra creation. Which, I mean, really, it's the same one that they've had. It's just been updated. It's improved. I think this one has the movable antenna, and it has like more rounded edges, and it looks a little nicer. But yeah, it's still the Android. Anyway, oh, is Android 15 vanilla? I didn't even realize that. or I forgot to check what the code name was. Is that the case? Um, and if so, I mean, yes, Diablo, you put it so perfectly. Uh, this is the barely updateiest of updates. Um, so it may as well start with the I have to make fun of this. Well, let me be clear. I have to make fun of this. Here's everything new in Android 15 Developer Preview 1. And let's just put it this way. No. No. This list. I don't know how many people have looked at this list, but this is not a list of new stuff. Okay. Vanilla ice cream, yeah, that is the API level. Cool. So yeah, that's the most useful thing I found on this page. Anyway, the new features as part of Developer Preview 1, you can show an HDR SDR ratio. Yeah. There are haptics when you adjust the brightness in quick settings. Okay. Let's see. The notification cooldown. This one's mildly interesting. Apparently, you can have it do something like if a single app sends a whole bunch of notifications in rapid succession, it can lower the volume for subsequent notifications. I like that. That's kind of neat. I'm curious. Is this going to be one of those things where you turn on your phone and turn on a phone that hasn't been powered on for like a month? We've all done it. We've all turned on that old device, and we've all had that experience of the device just catching up as notifications just flood in, and especially from like social networks. If you've ever turned one on and had Facebook just spam you for like, and I've literally had Facebook go off for like 5 minutes straight. If you've ever had that experience, you know what this is like. But I'm curious if this is now going to, instead of being like bing, 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 it's going to be like bing, 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 bing. Like, is it going to just keep shifting in volume between high and low as different apps take over? It's one of those things. I'm not sure if it's really fixing anything if you have it tuned down the volume for some apps. When someone clip that segment, oh god. But is it going to be one of those things where it doesn't really help just because like one app will be tuned down and then the very next one that comes in and it starts spamming you, is it going to then get its one loud notification and then several quiet ones? And what we really need, I'm just going to come right out and say, what we really need is the ability, when a whole stream of notifications come in, there should be like a high priority notification that appears. You should just be able to tap a button on that and it just says, no, I get it. Just put all the notifications on the shade at once and quiet. Go quiet. Go silent with this, and I'll deal with them in a couple minutes. Like, that needs to be a thing. We don't need the infinite stream of notifications rolling in for the first like 10 minutes after you power on an old device. Let's see. Awesome. The developer previews are always a stretch for features. Yes, I completely agree. For what it's worth, I don't really expect Android 15 to even be that feature rich anyway. At this stage, and I'm going to get to it in a moment, the part that actually matters. But at this stage, it's the APIs. Honestly, like it's the, oh no, Kirby, you didn't. But yeah, it's really gonna be, we're not going to get a lot of new features. Like, that's just a thing. The new features at this stage are going to be like pixel exclusives and major things having to do with like Google Play services releases and stuff like that. And of course, I have to mute the Nest Hub because what the man, I woke up everything with that. Anyway, oh wait, there's another phone back there. Did that one get? No, that one slept through it. Good for the Pixel 6 Pro. Make that clip into the Windows sound pack. You know, for giggles, I should do that. Maybe I'll make a sound pack for everybody with me doing just weird vocals. Anyway, what else? Austin, wish Google would introduce a notification sync API. Well, I mean, strictly speaking, Firebase has that capability. It just really doesn't get used anymore. I know, I don't remember where I saw this, but somewhere in the last day, I saw somebody mention something about, remember the days when Google Hangouts, like if you read something on one device, the notification would go away on all the devices? Yeah, that there was a time that was a thing. It was great. And the thing is, the capability didn't go away, just no one implements it anymore. So they could fix this. They just don't. Let's see. Diablo, I think it'll still be annoying. Reddit can reset that timer. Diablo. And notification history can be used for people who suspect they missed out on any notifications. So that also reminds me, I don't remember too much about it anymore, but there was at one time people had written a few apps that read your notifications, and they actually kept a backlog of notifications so you could look through and see what stuff had shown up and possibly still act on it later or respond to it in different ways. That capability technically isn't gone, but you're only allowed the single notification listener, and if that's not the one that you pick, tough luck. And notification listeners are weird. That to me is still something that they should have created a like completely different relationship for. Let's see. Austin, you can only fit so much in a developer preview. Look, the way you wrote it, I just want to be clear. Somebody with a dirty mind could have a completely different read on that, and that sentence becomes a lot funnier. I just want to be very clear. I'm not going to say any more than that. But that sentence becomes a lot funnier if you read it the other way, with a very, very dirty mind. Anyway. Curvy, somebody make that clip into Windows. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I read that earlier. Austin, it's hard to squeeze anything else into a DP. Not much wiggle room to okay. Well, okay, so the joke was there before I referenced that the joke was there. Yeah. Oh, that's terrible. We know what sites everyone's spending their time on when they're not watching the live streams. So anyway, what else is happening in this? Oh yeah, so that's everything that 9 to 5 has apparently found so far, which, man, that is a bleak list. Ooh, whoa, what happened to my camera feed? Hold on, fixing that right now. There we go. Yeah. Sorry, there's some really weird light because I've got a side window that is just glaring sun at me. And the rest of the lights in this room do not really compete. So yeah, this'll correct itself in probably about half an hour. Or if a cloud passes in front, it'll be fine. So getting to the more important things about Android 15, the stuff that actually matters. Here are the new APIs that they're adding, and well, APIs and features that actually are relevant, mostly to developers, but also kind of to everybody. So in the realm of Privacy Sandbox, if anyone remembers, Privacy Sandbox is not at all what it sounds like. Kind of like how the Patriot Act had nothing to do with patriotism. Yeah, Privacy Sandbox is their name for basically how ads or the new advertising technology. Instead of using cookies, this is the methodology of basically having your browser keep track of what you're into for you and for other companies, and telling them, here are the ads I want you to serve me. Which, yikes. Anyway, Privacy Sandbox is it is a thing. They're pushing it further and further, and yeah, who cares? They've also mentioned Health Connect. At this stage, I don't think that's particularly exciting, but it is obviously going to be part of the Fitbit integration. They're going to be pushing more and more things, and they have added data types for fitness, nutrition, a few other things. So, yay. I'm sure, in all honesty, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more about that later this year, probably at Google I/O. And the first time that we actually see real features associated with this, it's probably going to be when they launch the Pixel Watch 3. That is my guess. We shall see. Anyway, getting to, honestly, I think this stuff is the way more interesting part. But file integrity. This particular one may not be the exciting one, but stick with me. File integrity is basically they're going to be using a feature of FS Verity, which is a part of the Linux kernel. It's basically a thing where you can attach like a hash code or hash value to a file, basically showing, has the file been altered, manipulated, is it corrupted, anything like that. Is this going to matter on your phone? Probably not. In theory, it will probably actually go to heavy use for the operating system, for guaranteeing that various files in the OS have not been corrupted or modified. But for your regular files, probably not a big deal. Where I think this is actually going to matter is rolling Android out to secure environments, which is going to include everything from servers to obviously let's say I don't want to say like kiosks or anything like that, but it could be if you wanted to build like an ATM machine. And yes, I know the ATM machine, the M machine thing. Anyway, if you're building like an ATM, you could do it with Android, and this is a pretty critical security step in making sure that somehow the interface of making sure the interface for the ATM has not been manipulated or corrupted. So, is it a big deal? Will we actually notice this in real use? No, of course not. But there are actually going to be very critical things where using Android in more secure environments, this actually matters. Let's see, partial screen sharing. This one's kind of neat. So you'll be able to pick individual apps that you want to share instead of sharing an entire screen. And when we say sharing, that can be like media capture for screen recordings. It can be doing screen sharing with somebody else over a chat, so on and so forth. Apps technically could already do something like this by just intentionally cropping that data out, but they'd have to do it manually, and they'd have to know where to crop. This, in theory, just makes it so, let's say maybe it doesn't need to capture the clock and notification section. It could maybe just capture, I don't know if it'll capture different layers. It doesn't specify that in this description, and I didn't go reading deeper into this, but hopefully it hopefully can distinguish between layers, because then you could just capture the entire screen, but not capture things like the clock and notification icons and anything like that. That would be good. That might actually be a thing to poke around. Let's see. Anyway, they also got into discussing in-app camera controls, basically the ability for apps to do a little bit more tinkering with what's in, or how they capture things. So the specific features they noted is low light enhancements, so you'd be able to boost the brightness of the camera preview, things like that. And they also mentioned, and I swear that this has been discussed repeatedly. Like, is this not a feature that was supposedly added like 2 years ago? The ability to control flash intensity, whether you're using it as an actual flash or if you've just got it in constant so-called torch mode. Being able to control flash intensity, it's something that was supposed to be a feature at least on Pixels a while ago. It has been a feature on Samsung phones for years, and I think OnePlus might have done this at some point. I could be wrong. Anyway, how is it that this is still being tossed around? I'm confused. Let's see. Virtual MIDI 2.0 devices. This one, I don't think anyone here is actually going to care about this, but short version, it allows you to create, so MIDI devices, quick note, MIDI technically is actually a broader concept than this, but generally speaking, it's used to describe musical instruments. You can plug in various things that produce sound, and MIDI is the protocol that is used for communicating that sound over a digital space. So the thing about this is it would allow you on an app level to create your own virtual MIDI devices. So if you want an app to produce sound to go into a stream of audio, you can do that with this. Yay. That actually is kind of a big deal in some ways, because again, this could allow a lot of pretty advanced features to be done. And I wouldn't say that this is the last thing that was necessary, but if you wanted to, let's say, build like an audio board or like a capture device or something like that using Android, this is actually pretty big. This could be highly useful, but we'll see. Obviously that's a pretty narrow niche sort of thing. It's only going to matter to people who are actually building that kind of a device. After this, they get into performance and quality. Let's see, this one, I read through this stuff, but most of it doesn't really get that interesting, except apparently they are adding an API to give apps the ability to detect if they are going to be thermally throttled. That's useful. I like that. That's kind of neat. And other than that, like, yeah, this is basically just an extension of the API to give apps a little bit more information on what could be done to them or how much work they're doing on the device. They're adding more OpenJDK APIs. This is important, but it's not that exciting. And yeah, that's about it. So let's see, their roadmap for delivery. They basically are saying that developer previews will continue through March, and the first beta will be probably in April, most likely. They'll likely just keep pushing betas up until, in all likelihood, well, they show July will be probably the last beta, and both June and July are going to be platform stability releases. We'll see. Their schedules have shifted in the past. I wouldn't really put it past them to necessarily change this up again. And then, of course, final release. Yeah, it's going to be... Well, to be fair, Diablo, yeah, final release, yes, will come sometime close to the Pixel 9, but it probably won't be with the Pixel 9. Google has kind of separated those release schedules a little bit, saying... Oh, geez. Okay. Wow. Politics is dumb. Anyway, the notification I just got, it's spectacular. So anyway, in all likelihood, I think we'll see the Android release, or not all likelihood, but there's a pretty good chance the Android release will precede the Pixel 9 by a month or two, which is fine. I think releasing or strictly locking the Android release to the Pixel launch, it wasn't doing anybody any favors, and I don't think it hurts to have them be separate. So yeah, I'm down for keeping those two apart. All right, let's see. So the rest of this is instructions for getting the new version. Is this a big release? No. I don't think anybody is going to be looking at this going, "Oh my God, this is the version of Android I was waiting for." This is not going to move the needle in terms of like attracting new Android users, which nor should it. That's okay. No one here is going to be hurt by the idea that this is a relatively iterative update. The improvements they're adding, I mean, you heard my theories on what some of this stuff will be used for. This is targeting specific narrow use cases that honestly, things like almost spilled some of my tea. This is stuff like the file integrity portion and the virtual MIDI devices. These are things that are going to be very, very narrowly specific. They serve a tiny audience. But for that tiny audience that they serve, it's critical. And it's going to go a long way to building like custom devices. It's going to go a long way to building products that you don't necessarily think of first when you say this is something that Android is running on. And that's great. That's an extension of an operating system that could eventually chase away things like ATMs running OS 2, which is still a thing. If you haven't heard it, go check out the Tech Tales episode on episodes on OS 2. Corbin and I did multiple episodes discussing the history and path of an OS, an operating system that I think most people have never even heard of. Or at least at this point, most people have never heard of. And the fact that it's actually still in use in a few places. Anyway, so yeah, it's a version release. We'll see if there are going to be more new exciting features. That's That's something that the betas will likely bring us, developer previews, as Austin pointed out. Usually not major feature or sources of features. That said, for the last several years, the betas haven't really brought much either. It happens. Sometimes they bring something more notable. I'm not expecting it at this stage. Android is, it's evolved enough and matured enough that we're probably not going to see a lot of significant feature launches. And if we do, it's probably things that Google would already be hyping, but maybe not. We'll see. Let's see. Diablo, yeah, it would hurt unless, of course, security reason held back. Yeah. Exactly. So, anyway. Just realized I forgot to make a joke earlier that I intended to make, but, yeah. Now we're going to spend the whole rest of the show talking about the Vision Pro. No, I'm kidding. We actually are not going to mention it again because, shockingly, for once this week, there is no news about the Vision Pro. Or, sorry, there was one piece of news. The Microsoft Office, the head of Microsoft Office, apparently really thinks it's cool. That was the news. Go check Windows Central. They wrote a whole article about this. I'm not kidding. That's actually real. I'm not making this up. The guy talked about how it's cooler than his home entertainment system or home entertainment center, and that it was neat on a plane. I'm not kidding. They wrote an article about the guy who is the head of Microsoft Office caring about this. Windows Central, guys, do better. But what we are going to talk about is AI. Sorry. I know. We can't seem to stop talking about it. So, a couple of things happened this week with Google. Whether or not they're exciting is debatable. So, first up, Google Gemma. This is Google's attempt at quote-unquote open sourcing AI models. The truth is, I don't know enough about this to really follow exactly how this is being quote-unquote open sourced. But it seems that what they're doing is releasing two much smaller AI models. These really are just sort of chatbot level AI models. They're not meant to do really hardcore tasks, and they're probably not going to they're not going to achieve high either high fidelity or high capability. But they are chatbot models that, according to Google, will be able to run on a desktop computer and effectively are the sort of thing that you could integrate for actual local app usage. This is Gemma 2B and 7B. I have tried reading a little bit about this, but I admit I didn't have a lot of time before the stream started, and I'm not following this news super closely myself. But the significance here is these are open sourced models. Google trained them. They're basically releasing the tools to be able to, or the model itself to be used with the tools that exist, and you can access them through services like Kaggle, Hugging Face, NVIDIA's Nemo, and Google's Vertex AI. So, yay, there they are. For reference, this is the Gemma entry on Kaggle. And I don't know enough about how open source these are. One thing that did jump out at me is you do have to request access for Gemma. I believe that this is more just kind of like a sign in kind of a thing in order to get to get it, but I don't know how exactly it goes into use from that point on. So, and it feels like if you're going to say something is open source, this is where I found a little bit of a stretch with this. I feel like if you're going to call it open source, you need to be able to show where all of your data came from, which as far as I can tell, they did not do. Maybe I missed it. I tried skimming over everything in this article or in this listing, but I couldn't find anything, and I was in a rush, so it's possible I missed something. A few of the things I did notice is it does mention that it has at least been trained on source code. So in theory, it could probably at least read and generate something resembling source code. I don't know how extensive that is. It obviously can be used for creating like conversational chatbots. It could be used for building out tools that can do some degree of like language interpretation, things like that. There's a lot that can be done here. Whether or not, well, I don't know. That's about as far as I could really say about it. But I am inclined to give Google credit for open sourcing something that is presumably an actual usable tool. The catch to this, and it's not like this is anything different, but the catch to this, I think, is Google also really wants people to be using Google's models. Because that, it's sort of the, it's that classic thing of giving people, well, it's like the cigarette industry's catch them while they're young. Google wants people to use its models. It just is what it is. They can control what goes in. They've got at least some ability to control what comes out of it. And they really want their stuff to be out there and freely available. Also because it obviously serves to kind of build people towards using Google's non-open source things, which is basically the higher end Gemini models. So, yeah, that's kind of where that stands. For anyone that wants to read about this, there's a link to the Verge article. Oh, I neglected to post it earlier, but just in case, here's the link to the Android developers blog where they discuss those features. So I'm not going to babble anymore about this. I honestly just don't know enough to go into more detail on it. My curiosity, if anything, is this something right now? And I probably should be able to answer this, but is this something right now where I could download the model, include it with an app of some kind, or build an app around it that can just actually do things? And this would run offline on my own computer. Is this something that's doable? If it isn't, then it's not. Honestly, I feel like it's not really open source yet. Also, again, I don't feel like you can call it open source if you aren't disclosing exactly where you got all of your training data. Also, the other thing I didn't see, which this to me also screams of a sign of something, I didn't see file sizes. Is that something that we had mentioned anywhere here? Because without file sizes, I'm just gonna say, anything that you distribute, what would be the how big of an app would it be? Okay, this mentions downloads, so yeah, you must be able to actually do downloads of this. All right, I want to know what the file sizes are. I'm not gonna try going into it right now, but I really want to know, like, how large of an app do you have to distribute if you're going to distribute it with an LLM? Um, either version of Gemma, like, how much space are we talking? Is this going to add like 100 megabytes? Is this like a gigabyte? Is this the sort of thing that you could realistically put into an app, or is it the sort of thing that you maybe like build to run on a server? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have points of reference for this, so I don't know what's realistic. Nevertheless, Metric Brawl, welcome. Watching this in 144p really umps up the experience. I can imagine. 144p is that's some specialty stuff right there. Also, I realized my camera lighting is just all over the place right now. There we go. So the other big Google announcement regarding AI this week was Gemini is now rolling out to all Google One AI Premium subscribers. So if you are the kind of person who has been dying to get all of your AI integrations across all of your Google platforms, yay for you. The day has come. Let's see. Feels like I'm watching a Yugoslav war documentary from 2002. Wow. Their production quality was that terrible? I would have thought those documentaries would have done better. Anyway, so yeah, okay, thanks. So let's see. We've actually talked about this a little bit before on previous streams. The short version, if there can be such a thing, is that Google is or Google has integrated its AI, well, not just chatbot, but AI services into Gmail, Docs, Slides, Sheets, Google Meet, and let's see, I swear there was one or two others, maybe not. Anyway, basically what you can do is things like asking Gmail to write a whole email for you or parts of an email for you through AI. You can do basically the same thing with Docs, but like write out a paragraph or a page to explain this thing or that thing. In Slides, you can do things like having Gemini develop or generate like graphics. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a more accurate or fitting term, but yeah, basically you can have it generate graphics that or images that are related to a particular thing. This could be anything from sort of your like stock photography kind of thing, or it could involve charts, graphs, whatever. Obviously check every single thing that gets generated, because who knows if it'll be right or wrong. Let's see, you could do obviously data organization in Sheets, and because it is absolutely the most important feature, you can have it generate backgrounds in Google Meet. Yes, that is, after all, the thing everybody absolutely needed. This is why I keep making fun of this whole thing, for the fact that it feels like the Google Plus integration all over again. Some of these things make total sense. They're actual useful features. Others, yeah, it just feels like they contacted the Google Meet team and said, you know what, you haven't done anything cool for us in the last 6 months. So your punishment is you have to find a way to make AI fit into your product. And this is what they came up with. So, Brawl, they want to block my ad blocker. So, yeah. The other thing that is coming as a part of this is chat with Gemini. Because apparently people using Google Workspace want to talk to an AI chatbot. A thing that apparently they weren't already able to do before, but can now, I guess. No, actually, I'm sort of making fun of it, but there is something of value here, or technically. You get, quote unquote, enterprise grade data protections and copyright indemnification. In other words, whatever you say to this AI will not be reintegrated into the AI for use with other companies, users, or as training data. So basically, it is kind of instance specific. You'll be able to say things or reveal highly sensitive information with Google, and Google promises that it will not then disseminate that information back out to other places. Obviously, you should not actually do that. You should not share anything that is private. But hey, people are going to do it anyway, so it's good that Google's at least trying, or claiming it's trying, to offer that sort of security. Where this is actually going to matter is like developers who are going to put code into who are going to be using Gemini for coding assistance. They're going to be people using or companies, just to draw from my own personal experiences, there are going to be companies that are, let's say, writing up press releases for unreleased products that are still under embargo. They don't want those products to be mentioned outside of their stuff or discussed by other companies, or sorry, by the chatbot with other users. So yeah, they're going to want some privacy. They're going to want their press release that they generate to be thoughtfully secured. So yeah, this is a valid thing. It does make sense, and there are a lot of people who are going to find value in it. That being said, is it that big of a deal? Probably not. And Brawl, how do we verify that it's enterprise grade data protection? How to verify that? There's really no good way. Though, however, you could, I suppose you could always sign in under one account and tell it all kinds of stuff. Just keep repeating lots and lots of sensitive information that obviously it would have no other way of knowing, and then sign into a different account and just try to get it to reveal that information. Brawl, what if you wanted to tell Google about all the illegal stuff that you did, and Google still tells the FBI? I don't believe that this is like a priesthood or a therapist. As far as I'm aware, Google has no obligation to tell them anything. So go ahead, confess everything you like. I think you're safe. Screw Chrome using Netscape Navigator. Talk to Corbin about it. He actually is. That's only halfway a joke. He actually does use Netscape Navigator to test one of his side projects. That is a real thing. Diablo, always assume everything is public. Yes. Yeah. If you're using a computer that has an internet connection, assume that nothing is secure. Brawl, now I actually got to do some illegal stuff to test that. I mean, I can't see any way that goes wrong. Anyway, so there's not much more to this. Most of this story was kind of about the rebrand and the rollout of the chat with Gemini. Otherwise, Yay, AI stuff. So, let's see. Moving on. Is Corbin also using Windows 95? I believe, and I'm not kidding here. I believe for that Netscape Navigator instance that he tests on, I think it was 98, but it might have been 95. I really don't remember for sure, but for real, he was running it in a virtual machine so that he could test how his what is it called? Damn it. I can't think of the name of it. No, it's the tool that he created for sharing screenshots taken on it's one of the older Nintendo systems. I don't think it was a Wii, but maybe it was. It can't be a Wii. Anyway, whatever it was. Yeah, that's his the whole point of it is Netscape Navigator happens to be very similar in a lot of ways. Like the very last release of Netscape Navigator is very similar to yeah, because the Wii came out in 95. It might have been for the DS, but I don't think so. It does. I don't know. Or maybe it was... No, it wouldn't have been the Game Boy Advance. I don't remember now. Anyway, whatever it is, it's the sharing service that was designed for that. Though it gets used for some other stuff too. Anyway, yeah, so he has used Netscape Navigator to test that. So anyway, switching gears to the 3DS. Yeah, you never know. So anyway, switching gears to social networks for a glancing moment. So apparently Facebook, and yes, I'm going to call it Facebook because dead naming giant social networks is just kind of the appropriate thing to do these days. They are testing a cross-posting feature with Threads. So apparently you will be able to use the Facebook iOS app. Right now this is iOS specific. And if you post from Facebook, you can turn it on so it will also cross-post automatically to Threads. This is weird. I mean, I think the idea is actually decent. The thing that gets me is why this... Well, okay, I don't... To my knowledge, if you do this cross-posting, at least nothing mentioned here says otherwise, comments basically are still split. What I kind of don't get is why Facebook isn't sort of just cross-merging everything. So I would think that the comments should be merged together. Regardless, yeah, this is turning out to be one of those weird ideas where they're still trying to keep Facebook, Instagram, and Threads all separate, but they're also kind of attached. This is, as far as I'm aware, the first time that Facebook has had any direct integration with Threads or Instagram. But it's also that kind of thing where it is direct integration, but it's not. So anyway, yeah, I don't love this. I think honestly, and I'm gonna be harsh on this. I think Facebook has to just sort of admit defeat and just come right out and say, yeah, we're going to have some integrations between everything. They should just straight up integrate Facebook and Threads, so that, they can still obviously have Facebook only posts. You could still have Threads only posts, but just merge the two so much that if you want it to be cross-posted across both, that should just be a flag. You should be able to cross-post automatically. It's there for both, and then when comments come in, they should be visible on both. That to me makes the most sense. Obviously that does pose a few issues with Facebook comments appearing to with Facebook comments appearing, that would introduce a bit of a problem with their goals to integrate this with Mastodon and the rest of the Fediverse. But I feel like that's workable. It could be worked out in a lot of different ways, but it's workable. And it also doesn't necessarily matter. Anyway, yeah, I think they're making their lives harder, and probably ultimately making this harder for everyone by not sort of integrating all three of the services as they go along. Let's see, scrolling or looking back up in comments, Metric Brawl, we went from roasting Google to memeing on Corbin. I mean, that is a natural workflow. Look, when Corbin is around, the memes just write themselves. Let's see. Speaking of Corbin, where'd he go? I don't know why, but he didn't make it this week. He sent me a message. I don't know. It was like a couple hours before stream. How far before stream was that? Oh yeah, it was right about noon my time. So I guess technically 3 hours before stream, but yeah. Anyway, so he's like I said, I don't know why, but he couldn't make it. Or did old age catch up to him? I mean, he is an old soul. That should be the norm. I mean, it is. Diablo, you mix my WhatsApp server with your threads. Oh, that would be so rich if one of these days they had something on WhatsApp, but like another WhatsApp incident where like all of a sudden people's WhatsApp messages started posting randomly to threads, and threads messages started like getting sent randomly to people on WhatsApp. That just seems like something that would happen, because WhatsApp has just had this long litany of one horrible mistake after another. Things not quite as severe as that, but that would be funny. Anyway, so yeah. Though now that I've said it, I gotta admit, I'm not a WhatsApp user, but I think it would actually be kind of cool if from WhatsApp you could like take a message that you write and just share it directly to threads as like I don't know, like a poll or a post of some kind. That just seems like a natural feature that should probably be there. Anyway, so yeah, not much else to say on that, but I feel like this is one of those things that people should probably be aware is very obviously a future of the platform. They want to create a path for Facebook users who are kind of maybe getting bored of Facebook to start tinkering with threads. That's the way I see this. That, or maybe they're having too much of a problem where people who are on Facebook don't care enough about threads. So they've realized that the solution to this is to make it so painless to cross post that that they can start transitioning more and more people into threads, which the fact that they're doing this could just be somebody's idea of, hey, you know, this would be a really nice thing to do for our users, let's do this. Or putting my conspiracy theory cap on for a second, or they realize that new users for threads has plateaued, like hard plateaued. They're probably not getting new people, So they realized that the only way to get more activity on Threads is to make it as painless as possible, to the point that you literally just have to tap and woohoo, you have automatic posting to Threads, which they can then brag is an increased usage of Threads almost overnight. We will see, but that's the only explanation that actually fits to me. Anyway, moving on. And so I'm just going to say this now. At this stage, I think this is probably headed towards a fairly short show because I only have this and kind of one other topic left. If anyone else has anything they really think would make a good topic, feel free to bring it up. But yeah, this is quickly bringing us near the end. But we're sidestepping to the gaming industry because I can think of nothing more Metric Brawl. Let's make up topics. Ask ChatGPT. Ask Gemini. Metric Brawl. Multi-streaming, multi-posting. What's next? Multi-calling. Do you really think Facebook could accomplish that? That seems like some pretty high rate technology for them. What the? That's weird. Why does I have something? I'm just fiddling with this tablet stand in my hands while I talk, and I've never noticed this before, but if one part is down in a specific way, it makes it so one of the legs doesn't want to pop out. That's really weird. Huh. Anyway. So yeah, the big talking point has been in the gaming industry for the last week. The big talking point has been, oh my god, Microsoft is making a bunch of Xbox exclusives available on the PS5, and all these games that they're going to be announcing or coming out with, they're all going to be cross-platform right from the jump. Like, this is going to be day one stuff. And people are furious. People cannot believe Microsoft would betray them and make stuff available on more than one platform. It is heinous. It's evil. It's destructive. They are trying to destroy everything that is good and right with Xbox. Or they really want money. That's the answer. I mean, the mere fact that we've reached this point where people are getting angry about the idea of cross-platform stuff, when companies used to always have a history of exclusives, is insane to me. This is good news, not bad. That said, it's a company doing company things. They're making a few exclusives available to everybody. Fine. Let me ask, honestly. I don't know enough about each of these franchises, but do any of these exclusives, Grounded, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, and Sea of Thieves, maybe Sea of Thieves, I don't know about that one, but do any of these jump out at anybody here as, oh my god, I have to buy an Xbox to play these? Like, how many people bought an Xbox so they could play any of these franchises? I don't think anyone. How about any of the other exclusives that they're going to be? Curvy Mermaid, yes. Sea of Thieves is the one exception. But none of these others are driving sales of Xbox. None of them. Once you have an Xbox, they were things that you might get. That's it. And at this stage, I think Sea of Thieves, it's one of those situations where it wasn't really going to... I don't think it's driving new sales of Xboxes. So planning to roll this one out. That one, That one's kind of like building on the franchise at this point. Um, but out of all the stuff that Microsoft is going to be making multi-platform, including future announcements and launches, is really not stuff that was driving platform sales. That's the thing. That's where I think a lot of the narrative really got lost. Is sure, Microsoft is sort of devaluing the necessity of getting an Xbox. I don't think they really care about that too much right now. And in general, I'm not sure that they, truthfully, I don't know that anyone had a reason to care too much about that anyway. But, Brawl, you thought you were stupid, but look at Microsoft? What do you mean? I always find that piracy is my best friend when I want to play. Yeah, okay. Curvy. Halo Infinite was supposed to be the massive Xbox exclusive that would drive people to Xbox, and they blew that one bad. I don't remember too much about the story on Halo Infinite anymore. I knew it back then. I just don't remember anymore. But yeah, the thing is, all of the talk that was going on over the last, I mean, it's kind of been 2 weeks, but this whole thing about Microsoft rolling out stuff for multi-platform when previously it would have been exclusives, I'm not seeing that as a bad thing. For one, we're mid to, well, depending on if you listen to some of the reports about Sony, late stage in the current generation. But I mean, really, we are mid-cycle in the current generation. The PS5 and current Xboxes have been out for long enough that they're arguably a little long in the tooth, but not really. The Series S, kind of long in the tooth. Like, it's good, but yeah, it was released a little underpowered. Now at this stage, it's definitely, seeing its age. It aged quickly. But yeah, I mean, how many people are making console buying decisions at this stage? I'm sure there are a few. There are always going to be some. There are always people who are out there like, my last console just died. What am I going to get today? Or, parents whose kids are growing up and it's like, you know what? It's time. Let's get them a console. What do we get them? Those happen. Those exist. But odds are, most people who really, really cared about getting a console, they already got whichever consoles they wanted to have. They might get more. They could grow their collection of consoles, but that's it. Like, you're not going to have any big swarms of people rushing to the store in a month saying, oh, you know what? An exclusive game came out for such and such console. I need to go get that console now. They either already have the console or, let's just be honest, they're probably going to wait for the next, like a Pro or some refresh or possibly the next generation console to come out. Then they'll get that game. At least a lot of people will. So all of the talk, I think, has been very heavily swayed towards Microsoft giving up its market position. I don't think they give up anything right now. And let's be clear, they made a few future titles, or they've announced that a few future titles are going to be cross-platform, and they've announced that a few existing titles are going to be going cross-platform. These are not necessarily that the whole franchises attached to those titles will be cross-platform. It just means that some existing titles are going to. They can still have exclusives. That's going to happen. They're not giving up exclusives. Microsoft's own people have even confirmed they're going to continue having exclusives. Just they've decided that a few things may as well be open. There's nothing stopping them from doing all kinds of different stuff with the properties that they have. So, you know, I don't think they're giving up any market position. I don't think that they're making any mistake here. If anything, they're taking advantage of the fact that people want to buy stuff, and at this stage, if they haven't managed to sell an Xbox to those people, then sell them the product that they still want to buy. You'll make more money, and you're not losing anything in the long run. You're not losing market position. You're not losing power. You're just selling to more people. That's a smart move. And yes, admittedly, you are, because of the cut that Sony is going, well, Sony and let's say Nintendo, though I don't think anything is, oh wait, sorry, Grounded is going to be going to Switch. Yeah, you know, they're going to be giving a cut in licensing to Sony. That's it. Like, that's all they're doing that is quote unquote hurting them. You're helping your competitor a little bit. Big deal. It's great. That's fine. This is okay. And people who are getting caught up in this weird console war BS, it's not driving me insane. I think it's hilarious, but it's so short-sighted that I think they've just lost the thread. Let's see, looking at comments. Oh wow, fair amount of comments. Brawl, Microsoft should fix Windows 11's issues and not release exclusives on PlayStation. Yeah, I love those types of, I love that type of logic, because these are absolutely the same developers. Let's see, Curvy, next gen Xbox and PS6 are allegedly coming in 2026 and 2027. You know, I'm still curious about how that's gonna work, because obviously, and even you commented on this, there's the rumors about the PlayStation 5 Pro are back and forth. It seems that nobody can even decide if that's canceled yet. So, you know, it kind of feels like that might be a little bit of an iffy one. Also, let's see, the PS5 released in 2020. End of 2020. November specifically. I mean, it hasn't even been 4 years yet. It hasn't even been 4 years yet. I feel like at this stage, because consoles typically, a whole console generation usually goes about 8-ish years. I know it depends a little bit, but historically, console generations have lasted pretty long times. So if it goes to 2027, that's not bad. That's a little short, but hey, you know, advancements in technology and higher demands, things like that, I kind of get it. Like, it's not the craziest thing if the PS6 comes in 2027. But then I kind of look back at the idea of a PS5 Pro, and I kind of sit here wondering, like, do they really want to ride out the next few years on their current hardware, or should they maybe still release the PS5 Pro, and that could give them another year or so before they really need to push the PS6. We'll see. And as always, the release of a new console can be a fraught situation, especially because you're going to have a whole lot of people getting real mad if they have to start rebuying a lot of games. And right now, we don't know if the PS6 is going to be a particularly backwards compatible version or not. Obviously, we're just not going to know that kind of a thing. Anyway, let's see. Brawl, I hope they finally release the Xbox 720. Me too. I mean, 1 spin was good. 2 spins even better. Thing was, nobody was willing to get the SXX or PS5 the first 3 years of its life cycle, and most people ended up waiting for the PS5 Pro. Exactly. And that's also kind of the thing. Like, what are the odds that they're going to release a like, if they wait and release the PS6, how many people will have just turned around and said, you know what? We wanted a console. We waited how many years to get the Pro version. Now now there's no Pro version, and we're now waiting another year and a half before we can get it, ballparking, however long it ends up being. Now we're going to wait even longer to get a PS6, because obviously, like, from the point where it's obvious there will be no PS5 Pro, people will then say, okay, we're waiting on the PS6. When that time comes, you're already going to be waiting minimum a year, like from the date where it's announced that there's going to be a PS6 to the point where they actually have the let's call it a release, like the start of the release window. That's at least a year. They're going to be hyping that thing for ages. They're going to be leaking, releasing details. It's going to be nibbles and bits about it, but there's not going to be, from the point where they first announce a PS6 to when it's actually a product, minimum a year. And then, how long is it going to take to get one? Granted, and the very next comment, Diablo mentioning that it was a pandemic generation device, that factored in a lot for obviously the time it took to get one. Curvy, the next comment there too. Yeah, from 2020 to 2020, yes, was absolute scalpers and marketplace sellers. 2021, there was a lot of that too. 2022, like, you could get a PS5 out of a store. I mean, it's scary that it took 2 years really to get to that point, but by 2022, you could definitely get a PS5 out of a store. I mean, I literally have seen PS5 sitting on the Walmart shelves. And I mean, now in 2023, like, there was never any question. From the first day of 2023, you could walk into any store and get a PS5. And at least one of the Xboxes, always a Series S. I think a lot of stores just don't carry the X. Or wait, am I reversing it? Maybe I'm reversing that. I think all the stores carry the X, but not the S. Whatever. Anyway. I admit, I'm not one of the people who's looking to get an Xbox. But yeah, we've got this process where the first several months after a new console's released, you're not getting one. It's like when iPhones came out for a long time. If you were not awake at the right hour to order online and reserve your iPhone, you weren't going to get one for 3, 4, or 5 months. That's how it is. It's still going to be that way with consoles. And I don't think anything's going to change that. So, yeah, my genuine honest hunch here is that we're not going to see... we're going to see a lot of people who are going to get... or they're going to want to get a new console because they've been waiting for so long. I mean, I'm, to an extent, I'm one of them. I've got an original PS4 here. It's dated. It's suffering from its age in a few different ways. And it'd be nice to get a PS5. It'd be kind of nice to pick up a Pro. But if they don't make a Pro, like, what are a lot of people going to do? I think a ton of people will have gone for so long without a console, they may have actually scared off a lot of console buyers. Or not scared off, but kind of taught them, hey, at this stage, maybe you just don't even want a console anymore. That's a bigger mistake than anything. So logically, the smart play is either get a PS6 out earlier or get a PS5 Pro out, because that'll give people something to buy and keep as their console. Let's see. Brawl, I'm assuming, may have taken off because it is in fact 2 a.m. for him. Let's see. Curvy used to be 5 to 6. 7th gen was a long one. I mean, it depends on which consoles you're looking at, and if you're sort of merging companies together. But yeah, longer life cycles have always kind of been a thing with consoles. I mean, you know, they're not hitting a decade per release, but it's weird to have them be shorter cycles. Though I think this does reveal Sony really should have gotten a PS5 Pro out the door earlier than this. Like, if they were going to do it, it really should have happened like now. It definitely makes no sense to wait until, let's say, the end of this year. That's a little too late in the cycle. Let's see, Kirby. The consoles were powerful from the start, unlike the 8th gen. Obviously talking about the 7th gen. Yeah, they were. But it also, you know, there's other factors that are kicking in. Technology does not improve linearly, and at least in a few of the cases like this, we are seeing, I think some of the technology may be aged a little faster. Awesome. RIP Stadia. Truth. Man, some part of me just, I can't shake the feeling that if Google just stuck it out a little bit longer with Stadia, that could have actually been a really good move. Or if Google had waited to launch Stadia until like, say, beginning of this year. Can you imagine if they had launched Stadia about the beginning of this year and everyone's like, man, all the consoles are kind of dull and boring, and here's one that's able to do, hypothetically, some really high-end graphics. Let's assume that they built this thing up with something that's comparable to today. Would have been interesting. I'm curious if that would have maybe been good for them. Curvy, you have both consoles, love both. I feel like the PS5 is redundant for the games you play. Xbox is definitely the FPS console. Okay, I think that's because of the franchises you like. Let's see. They might consider PC, but that's just you. Got a lot of people on PC in 2022. I mean, look, this is the perpetuality of the gaming industry. There's always going to be PC Master Race. There's always going to be at least some people who are saying consoles are better because I don't have to deal with installing and like all the pains that come from sort of managing a PC, where a console is just sort of as easy and, you know, plug it in and it does its thing. And there's always going to be people obviously arguing for upgradability. There's going to be people arguing for just so many different factors. Plus, let's be honest, cost is a big one, depending on what your use case is like. You know, somebody who's only going to play like 2 or 3 games, a console's just cheaper. It is. Assuming that those games don't have like tons and tons of DLC that you have to pay for or something. If your focus is on, let's say, exclusive games, particularly Sony's exclusives, particularly stuff like The Last of Us or anything along those lines, like, then console is kind of an unavoidable path. Yeah, it's so driven by each person's specific needs and what the market kind of does to them. But man, if there comes another situation like the video card price hikes, if that ever happens again, oh boy, that was insane. When you had GPUs, like even multiple year old GPUs selling in the high hundreds, like that was a problem. That was a scary time to try to build a gaming PC. Let's see, and you say a decent PC is at least $1,500 for just a tower. Yeah, and a big part of that is because the gaming card or the GPU prices, yes, technically they chased off enough of the crypto people that's less of a thing than it used to be. But yeah, a decent PC is still expensive because the modern GPUs just came out at high prices, and the other components that have to go into a computer to sort of fit the mold, all the prices are just on the higher end now. And it doesn't help that sort of compatibility between components is a little bit sketchier than it used to be. But yeah, anyway, look, I've always been a fan of PC gaming, but there came a point when I was doing a lot of contracting work back in the mid 2000s where that's why I started buying consoles, because at a certain stage it's like, look, I don't want to lose my progress in a game just because I need to wipe my computer because of some Windows update, or because in order to get my in order to get Visual Studio to work a certain way, I have to wipe out a whole bunch of stuff and then sort of reinstall a bunch of things. Lo and behold, this wipes out some library, or maybe DirectX is incompatible with something, which for those who didn't do programming in the mid 2000s, the things I'm saying sound kind of insane. This was real. Like, you could literally have like a patch to your IDE that might not work because of the DirectX version you had installed. This was real. This sort of stuff was insane, and it happened all the time. So, you know, there have been reasons in the past where it just made a lot of sense to get a console. Obviously, you could get multiple computers. That's an option too, but you know, that's a higher price, and having the variability of being able to pick up games from consoles and PC at the same time, that there's advantages to that. Kirby, you think if Valve would try to do a Steam Deck but as a PC again, that'd be successful? I could see it. And maybe someday they'll do that, because that I agree, that makes sense. I think there's a path where they could do that. Certainly build it in a way that's very much similar to a game console, but obviously, you know, done on the Steam Deck's back. Yeah, that would be a good idea. They should do it. I don't know that it would make enough to be particularly profitable, but maybe. You never know. Yeah, I'd like to see what would happen. I wouldn't bank on it. I don't know that I would bet on it being a success, but I'm curious. I would love to just see what would happen. What would be the reaction to that? Would people be into it? I'd love to see how that would play out. Let's see. Just taking a quick look. All right. So yeah, obviously we could probably bang on about this for who knows how long. But I think I've run out of my immediately relevant insights at the moment. Um, so touching on a final topic. This is actually not something new, but it's something I have kind of been eyeing a little bit for uh, the last few months. And anyone who's not into camera stuff, or smartphone camera stuff, you're probably going to lose interest in this real quick. So to those of you, I wish you do. Thank you for coming by and hanging out. I, I'm I feel like I'm doing the outro, but that's not the intent. But thank you for coming by. But I wanted to talk about this one last thing because I found it and it is interesting to me. So there's this app called Motion Cam Pro, which it has been out for I think about 2 years. I didn't actually look into it, but I want to say it's been about 2 years. Or rather, I found evidence that it had been out for at least that. Yeah, here's something from November 2022. So, and that's obviously just one quick look to find a review. Is there anything that's like... yeah, I don't know how far back I'd have to go to get an indicator of how old something is, but May of 2022. Yeah, okay. So, however long it is. This is neat as hell to me. So, for those who don't know much about camera stuff, let me give a quick explanation on what on RAW. So, if you take a pro or kind of prosumer camera today, and you can do this with smartphones too, you can shoot still images in what's called RAW. Typically, it's not usually in a actual quote-unquote RAW format. It's in like Adobe's DNG format, or it'll be in something that the camera manufacturer has as kind of their custom RAW format. Austin, I do. Anyway, so when you're shooting a still image, obviously, like historically, the way that you would do this is, or what you would get if you shoot a still image is a JPEG. A JPEG image is something where the camera captures the data, it then processes it and spits out this image. And when I say processes it, I mean it runs it through what we think of as the ISP, the image signal processor. So it applies color effects, things like that. It takes into account your lighting conditions. Moms for Library is going to ban this RambleCast. What? I that one flew over my head. But yeah, so anyway, alternatively, you can shoot a RAW format. Moms for Liberty is going to ban this RambleCast. I honestly don't remember who they are. That's one of the crazy right-wingers, right? It has to be. The name says it all. What am I thinking? Yeah, they're the book banning group. That's right. I honestly haven't heard their names mentioned in probably about 4 months. So yeah. And to think 4 months sounds like a long time now. Golly. Anyway, so if you're capturing an image, you can also capture it in RAW. Now, what's interesting about RAW is it is capturing all of the data that the image or that the camera sensor picked up. It's recording everything that the sensor picked up. Now, what this allows you to do is in editing applications, you can go back in and make adjustments that are more impactful and have more room to work than if you were just working on that JPEG. Now, the caveat to this, There are obviously two big caveats to this. One of them is raw image is out of camera, not very pretty. It doesn't have as much contrast. It doesn't have as much pop. It's just not as pretty of an image. It's just everything that the camera picked up. The other problem is they're bigger. Typically, like out of my Sony A7 III, a typical JPEG is going to be anywhere from about 3 to 5 megabytes. The same raw image is going to be like 25 megabytes. Pretty big jump. Diablo, as a matter of fact, I do. But let me come back to that. So size is a huge concern when we're talking about this kind of a thing. So we start talking about video. Video has a lot of the same factors and side effects as photos do, but a few things can be optimized, a few things are better, a few things are worse. When we're talking about capturing video, you can do, or historically, most video cameras would capture video. They would use the encoder that could optimize on space based on like previous frame to next frame, stuff like that. So you could have some space optimizations. Since you're capturing video like in real time, you don't have much of a space optimization. You typically kind of capture mostly full frames, but some video cameras supported a little bit more optimization. Still, videos are huge. Like, they just are. And even with video, you're typically burning in those settings. So it's sort of like, I mean, video is a lot more similar to shooting a JPEG than it is shooting a RAW, generally. Then the movie industry at a certain point was like, listen, we actually want that flexibility. We have enough money. We're willing to pay that size cost. We're willing to attach giant hard drives, or more likely giant flash drives, to our cameras. If it will get us that extra flexibility, just give it to us. So camera manufacturers at the cinema level started saying, okay, we'll do that. And this brought about raw video. With raw video, the workflows are different. There's much higher performance costs to it, but ultimately, like with raw video, you end up typically shooting video where, and this is not a joke, your footage, you could be paying out like a terabyte in a few minutes. That's not a joke. You could chew through terabytes in or a terabyte in say 10 minutes. That is not at all uncommon. So the cost of raw video is extraordinarily high, and you have to have high performance, like high bandwidth storage mediums in order to do this. You have to have cameras that can handle it, so on and so forth. Now, this brings about the crazy thing of, imagine doing this on a smartphone. Who would be nuts enough to do this on a smartphone? Well, someone has done it. This app actually supports capturing raw video straight off the sensor. Brawl. Oh yeah, you came back at a weird time. Trust me, you just want to go back and listen to this part from the beginning if you care at all. Austin, somehow it's still more efficient than Video Boost. You know what? You're not wrong. Anyway, yeah, so people have... there is a small community building up around this app of people who are capturing raw video using their phones. The app is being pretty actively tested on Samsung, Xiaomi, phones in the OnePlus, Oppo family. There are, at least I see a few people talking about it from Motorola. There's a channel here for Pixel that's reasonably active. There are people shooting Sony. Yes, Sony is in there. Brawl, why is it $13? My best answer, because there are not that. First off, it's a one-time purchase, and more importantly, it's an app that a lot of people are probably not going to use. Like, honestly, this is a very narrow sort of thing. Also, it doesn't have to be. The base motion cam app, the non-pro version, free to use. And it will shoot raw video. It doesn't have certain other features, but it will shoot raw video. Yes, if anyone wants to try this out, and before you do, I have warnings, but here's the link to the free version. If you before you try this out, I will get to some warnings in just a minute, but it is not a tester. The one that I have up right now that's visible, this free version, it does the whole thing. It is just lacking some features. It is lacking things like oh my, why am I suddenly blanking on the name of this? Hold on. I'm just gonna pull up the damn app on my phone. Sorry, I suddenly had a like security update note pop up. Okay, why am I just histogram? That's the word I was looking for. Like the histogram, various other on-screen like features for shooting. Some of that stuff is missing from the free version. Also, I think, I might be wrong on this, but I think the free version can't do ProRes conversion, or can't be used for ProRes conversion. But once you captured video using this or the Pro version, you take it over. You can do this on your phone. Whether or not you want to is debatable, but ideally you then take it over to, you take the video file over to a PC, run it through a converter, and you can convert it to stuff like ProRes. You can convert it to like 10-bit HEVC, etc., etc. So, so yeah, this is very much like you can use the free version by itself. 100% it works. You just don't have stuff like a histogram to make sure that you're not screwing up. Let's see, Austin. So you really could use the power of the second Snapdragon processor of the Sega's phone for this. Yes. See, this is why we needed Sega's all along. And can you imagine if they ever shipped that, the old as can be processor that thing was supposed to have? So Metric Brawl, you actually, I'm sure you think you're joking with this, but funny that you mentioned this. You said, well, now you just need the extra storage and you'll be filming raw video on your phone camera, which probably costs less than a kilo of sand. So funny thing is, this app supports external recording to a flash drive. So I have a Synology B drive handy that I'm going to be testing this with actually tomorrow. So in case anyone's hearing this and going, well, some of this sounds familiar. Isn't this what Apple just did with the iPhone 15 Pro? Yes, it is. All of these are things you can do with the iPhone 15 Pro, kind of. They don't actually support RAW shooting. You can shoot in ProRes, I think it's 10-bit. And ProRes, like recording straight to ProRes, is very close to shooting RAW. Like, what they have is close enough to shooting RAW that, I mean, it's not the same, but it's it gives you enough latitude. You can, you know, you can fudge it. Now you just need a USB-C or C to A adapter. I mean, they exist. Though, wait, are they supposed to? Whatever. Anyway, and a 3 terabyte flash drive. Yeah. Well, if you caught the beginning of my spiel about what raw video is, yeah, you need a lot of space for this. Actually, I did. Oh, I think I already deleted it. Just double checking. Yeah, I already deleted it. So I recorded. I had some time sitting in a waiting room not too long ago, so I did a quick test recording. And when I say quick, I mean we're talking, I think it was like 7 seconds. Maybe it was 10 seconds. I don't know. It wasn't particularly long. I did a full resolution recording on my Pixel 8 Pro and my Pixel 7 Pro. I just wanted to see that they worked, and you know that it kind of met with the promises. And yeah, sure enough, those were massive files. I forget how big they were, but those few seconds I think ended up running, oh crap, what was it? I think those ended up being something like half a gig. Now I don't remember. Somehow I have another number in my head, but that might have been post conversion. Yeah, anyway, it's huge. They're massive files. They are definitely not something that like you don't shoot a whole vlog on this, but yeah, you might do kind of some pretty heavy duty things with this still. Let's see. Anyway, is this the sort of thing a lot of people are going to do or have any reason to do? Hell no. This is the weirdest, narrowest of things. Shooting a vlog on ProRes is just a flex. Tell that to Marquez. But no, seriously, there are people who are doing that, and yeah, it's 100% a waste of space and time and effort and everything else. But people do it. You wonder how ProRes would look on a tablet camera, which probably costs a little more than a grain of sand. Okay, so about all of that. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, here are a few. Trying to find. There are a few things like samples that people have showcased. So here is something shot on an S22 Ultra. I've seen at least one of these other guys' videos. Tell me, does this look like something that... I mean, maybe a couple of these shots do, but nothing about this looks... By the way, here's a link to this video if anyone wants to watch it directly. This doesn't really look so much like your typical smartphone footage. I mean, it's still got like it doesn't have super shallow depth of field or anything like that, but colors definitely look nicer. This does not have that same sort of over sharpened look that you get out of Samsung's camera. I mean, Samsung's notorious, very notorious for over sharpening everything. But when you're shooting in RAW, you can do your own sharpening after the fact. This looks like something that could be shot on a real, like, DSLR. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, smartphone cameras, they're tuned to give us sharper images, even if it means fake sharpening. They're tuned to give us lots of contrast. They're tuned to really amp up the colors. But the sensor inside is not actually capturing that. That's not what they do. They're capturing, they're just capturing the data coming in. So that's one of the beauties of RAW. Obviously, you can turn some of that stuff off in the settings for a camera, but a lot of times not much of it, or not all of it. Google in particular is not very keen on allowing that sort of control. Let's see. Here, where's another one? That was the same guy. Whoa. YouTube app or YouTube tab crashed. That's fun. Let's see. Was this the same guy? No. Okay. How about... No, that's him again. Here's one shot on the 7 Pro. The Pixel 7 Pro. And these are just things that various people have decided to offer up as their own things. But and I don't know how good any of these people necessarily are with shooting. I'm literally just I'm watching these for the first time too. I've only watched a couple of these in the past, but the thing is, this is taking a step into what's possible, which is what is interesting to me. Actually, this one maybe could have done with a little bit better color grading, and also maybe the guy. What's up with this? This guy does not seem to have a good sense of how to level his camera. Okay, so some of these people may not be particularly good at shooting or editing, but hey, it is what it is. Which is maybe kind of bleak for a channel that's actually named Smartphone Cinematography. Okay. Kind of not digging this one so much. Let's see. Why does it feel computer generated? I can't answer that. That's I don't know why it would seem computer generated, but I guess I can kind of see a few things do almost look like they came out of a high quality Unreal generation. Okay, let's try this video instead. I mean, shooting in low light environments and really complicated lighting environments is a classic problem for smartphones. You know that there's no way this was shot in a bright room. Like, this was shot in a dark bar, and they're actually getting really good, like, decent readable posters. You can see detail in the background. Like, this is not something that you're gonna typically... God, this band sucks though. Just gonna mute them right now. If anyone wants to actually hear them trying, and I'm going to say trying, there's the link to this one. But I mean, you can actually see kind of a lot of dynamic range, and this was shot on, I think this was also on an S22 on... Oh wow, wait, this was shot on the tele lens on the S22. Huh, okay, that's actually more impressive, because that's not that good of a camera. Um, but yeah. So anyway, this is something that I'm kind of taking an interest in and paying a little bit of attention to. I don't know how much I'm going to do with this necessarily, but a telelens sounds like alien tech. I mean, it absolutely is. Let's see. Brawl, you had also said wanted to be mean, but I said today is the day I'm not, or I am nice. Okay. If this was shot in a bright room, I'm bald. I don't know what your hair situation is, but yeah, that's the point. There's no way this was shot in a bright room, but it's actually got, there's some good, there's good detail visible in this, even though it was shot in low light. That's not the easiest thing to do. Your hair situation's bad. Okay. Austin. See, you're kind of reading my mind. I kind of actually want to do exactly that. Well, that's one of many things I want to do. So I also have a bit of a plan to try it. Well, I don't want to talk too much about it, but if I can find some time, I kind of want to do a, like battle against an iPhone 15. And I have a very specific way of doing that without getting an iPhone 15. But there's something I kind of want to try to do as a like Pixel 8 Pro versus iPhone 15 Pro sort of thing. Just to do like a check this out. The world of smartphone cameras can be incredibly good. But yeah, I need to find time to go do that, and when I do, it's probably gonna have to like be prepared with like lots of storage space. So we'll see how that goes. Regardless, like I figured there'd be at least some amount of interest in the fact that stuff like this exists. You know, oops, I need to pause that. So yeah, I mean, these videos, there are still traits of smartphone like look to them, but I mean, honestly, most of this stuff, this does not look like something that you expect from a smartphone. This looks better. This looks more natural. This looks more like what we're used to from a big hefty, well, maybe not a big hefty camera, but this looks more on par with what I expect to see out of like a, you know, like $1,000 consumer camera. And the mere fact that you can do that with a smartphone, that to me is exciting. That's interesting. So anyway, that's something I've been probably spending a little too much time kind of reading into and digging around in for the last few days. I should be doing more stuff with reviews, and I am doing stuff with reviews. Just, yeah, you know, when your attention span gets tugged in the wrong direction, sometimes it's for good reasons. Okay, whoever this is, you need to learn how to do how to lock exposure. But hey, this is still some nice looking footage, even if the person didn't quite figure out their exposure on a shot. Anyway, so yeah, that has been one of my recent interests of sorts. Also, I just realized my camera's gone super dark again. Okay. Anyway. Now, actually, this person isn't great with color grading either, but it is what it is. Because some of this is just slightly, like they're clipping the reds on this bird. I can see where some of the red channel is just not, like it got pushed a little too far. But hey, it is what it is. overall. Hey, that video garnered almost 1 million views, and it's still going. So one of these days it will cross. And actually, one of these days, I now that I think about it, I need to go do something with that video too, but not right now. Are we there yet? We are not there yet, but damn it, no ice cream for you. Anyway, so yeah, that is what, there's multiple chapters, really? This guy's saying multiple chapters? Oof, that's some bad focus control, dude. Okay, yeah, whoever this is did a bad job with this video. We're moving away from that. Anyway, but hey, what are you gonna do? But yeah, so I figured I'd point this out if anyone is enough of a camera nerd to want to try this stuff out, then you can. Like I said, there were some warnings. One of the big ones is the app generates its own custom format. That custom format, you can use the app to then generate a video from it on your phone, but that is a terrible idea for assorted reasons. Or you can download an app for Windows or Mac and convert it on your computer. From here, it generates a huge directory of DNG files. For anyone who's ever worked in RAW, that's actually really common. That's kind of how it goes. But for anyone who's ever worked in RAW, you then need to take that directory of DNG files and you import that into your editor. DaVinci Resolve is the one almost everyone chooses, though Adobe Premiere is a popular choice too. Final Cut will work, but I don't know what the workflow is on that one. And then you need to take it through a couple of extra steps for color grading, things like that. It's not the friendliest workflow. Let's say that. Also, the app does not have any built-in stabilization. So the camera itself, like your smartphone camera, can have optical image stabilization. That part still works. But if you rely on the electronic image stabilization, EIS, then that is not part of the camera app, the Motion Cam Pro or Motion Cam. However, this is where it gets even wilder. It does support exporting of gyroflow data. Gyroflow is this it is this special format that records all of the gyroscopic data as a camera is recording. It was this thing that got popularized, I think originally, I want to say with, who did it first? I think, damn it, who did it first? I want to say it was GoPro, but I don't think it was. Anyway, GoPro popularized it. And since then, Sony, DJI, Insta360, Red, a bunch of other companies have all started supporting it in some way, shape, or form in their products or with their editors or this or that. But Gyroflow, basically, it takes all of that sensor data and can, let's just say, fix your video's stabilization. It's another workflow step. It's a long step, actually. But yeah, the amount of stuff that you can do with this is crazy. And you can get much, much better video than should realistically be possible. Does Clipchamp work? Yes, actually, that is an Android thing. But yeah, the type of stuff that you can do with this is kind of insane. So yeah, I haven't gotten around to messing with the Gyroflow stuff, and I don't, yeah, I will figure it out, especially because I have several other cameras that can make use of it, and I just haven't ever messed with it, but it's typically better than the electronic image stabilization in any of the cameras that support this. And I have a feeling that that's probably some of what that's probably part of what Video Boost is doing in the Pixel 8, or one of the things that Video Boost is doing. So I kind of want to tinker with it for that reason too. But this all gets into deep like learning territory. So yeah, I'm thinking what I might do. I'm probably going to pitch doing kind of like a starter workflow, like how-to guide. I'm thinking about pitching that as a thing for AP, and I'll also do like my own videos for my YouTube channel on that. Maybe we'll see. And yeah, again, I kind of wanted to, I want to battle an iPhone. I think there is a battle with an iPhone to be done, and if it goes the way that I think it'll go, people will, I think we're at that point where people are going to look at it and go, holy crap, yeah, all that hype that Apple did is kind of a farce. I mean, it's not to say that an iPhone 15 Pro isn't making great looking video, but I think this whole thing about how Android phones don't have comparable or competing video, that's just an issue of the software. That's not an issue of hardware. So, Diablo, exactly. Not shot on Pixel, filmed on Pixel. Anyway, so yeah, this is something that I've been up to. I know most people probably not super interested, but surprisingly not too many people left during this long rambly discussion or explanation of this. So, hey, at least maybe there's some interest. So, hopefully I didn't bore anyone too much. Okay. Oh yeah, and needless to say, just as a side note, yes, this is something that older smartphones really not going to handle well, because it can be performance intensive. Again, it's very space intensive, and not just space intensive, but it requires that you have pretty high speed internal flash in order to handle writing all of that data, along with obviously the fact that it chews up a lot anyway. You posted something in Discord? I'm so concerned right now. Nice. It ripped the Nexus 5 potato. No kidding. But yeah, all of that said, this makes me even more want to see if I can get Sony to send me. I swear, if this goes the way that I kind of want it to, one of the first things I'm going to do is reach out to Sony and be like, hey, can you send me a review unit? I want to start playing with the latest Xperia phones and seeing how much I can do when the workflow is advanced. But we'll see. Anyway, with that, I think I have babbled enough. Let's see. Hey, I made it over 2 hours. Honestly, I had my doubts. Believe me, I had my doubts. But fortunately, babbling about camera stuff can metric brawl. For the low price of whatever the hell they're charging for Xperia phones, you can have one too. For what it's worth, I doubt they'd let me keep it. Maybe they would, but I doubt it. So, let's see. Actually, how much is an Xperia phone these days? Let's see. Sony Xperia. What is the current one? I think it's the 5.3? No, it can't be. That isn't it. Let's see. How about just latest? Sony mobile phones. Okay. We're... They have the Xperia... Sure, just accept all. They have the Xperia 1V 256 gigabyte model for $1,200 US. That's pricey. The Xperia 5 4. What is with these names? I don't get these names. Is this... So, which is this? Is this, like, the Xperia 5 is like a model name, and then it's the 4th generation? Is that how this works? Or is it, like, Xperia 1, the original one, but it's, like, maybe the V is the model? Their naming is terrible. Their naming is horrible. Brawl blinded with the sight. Sorry about that. Yeah, I know the lighting levels are complicating. Oh, or the Xperia Pro. The Xperia Pro for $2,500. To be fair, that one has a full-size HDMI port for using it as a camera monitor, which also has some other hardware related to it. So that price is, as crazy as it sounds, that price is actually pretty justified. But I'm pretty sure the 1V must be the latest one. Estimated delivery February. Oh, okay, that's... For some reason, my brain just briefly thought, oh, we're still in January. No, we're not. Brawl. No, it's not an HDMI output. It's HDMI input. The Pro, what it can do, there's actually a reason for this. Actually, you probably can actually use that HDMI for output too. I don't know, but the reason for HDMI input, this is actually a legitimate thing. So something a lot of camera operators will have. Camera monitor. Oops. Helps if I spell monitor correctly. Okay. Here's an example of it. Oh, okay. So obviously there's a normal camera, but above it you can see there's a display. That is referred to as a camera monitor. These have special features. So you can like hit buttons to get a histogram. You can get different versions of scopes. You can turn on a mode called false color, which shows you if the camera is under or overexposing specific parts of the image. You can usually tell it to activate certain LUTs, which are for adjusting color, and that way you can see like what a final image would look like, or closer to a final image would look like based on what you're capturing in camera. There's a bunch of features for camera monitors. Anyway, the Sony phone actually supports that stuff, and that's why it has an HDMI input, so you actually can plug in the camera directly to your phone and use your phone as a monitor. It's an expensive thing to have because of that. So is the price fully justified? No, but because this camera monitor, like this one, I don't know exactly how much this one cost. Oh, from Hollyland. If I remember, Hollyland isn't super pricey, so you could probably get this monitor, I'm guessing, for what, 500? Is it even that much? It might be less. Do they happen to have prices? Oh, hey, I called it. 500, almost to the dollar. So yeah, this only makes sense if you need to save space and weight as much as possible, and you're like, hey, if I can get my phone to do double duty, then that works. Then that makes sense. It doesn't make sense to buy this if you don't need to do space savings or something like that. Brawl, at this point, just have the cable inside the phone. I cannot imagine. God, that'd be so bad. just because imagine carrying around a phone with it that needs to have space for an HDMI cable built in. The 2010 flip cameras did it better. Yikes. Brawl, you need to have scopes. What is this, a sniper rifle? Pretty close. Anyway, so yeah, all of this aside, it's random babbling, but yeah, so there's some neat stuff happening with smartphones, I'm telling you. Do I think that this is replacing real cameras anytime soon? No, that to me is a ridiculous discussion. But are they capable of, without doing AI and without doing weird cheats of other kinds? Not to say that this isn't sometimes kind of a weird cheat to do like an extensive workflow on it, but smartphones are actually not bad cameras now. Like, legitimately, they have some pretty good capability, and you don't necessarily need to have Google's special processing. You don't necessarily need to run like crazy AI, and you could fool somebody with properly well shot footage, especially if you have some good lenses to stick on the front, or you have the right equipment to get a nice stable shot, things like that. There are ways that you can really do good stuff with a smartphone camera that you just 5 years ago would have seemed impossible. So I'm interested. I'm curious. I want to see if I can't push this to some limits. Brawl, you think they want more for that phone than your house is worth? I mean, there are cameras out there that cost more than a house, even in some high tier economies. Reminds me of a YouTuber that I kind of watch. He decided just for funsies to buy himself an Arri Alexa, which just, and I think he bought a mini, so to be fair, it wasn't one of the more expensive ones. And Arri Alexa, let's just see where's the price. Do they have pricing on this page? I don't know if they do. Okay, no, they don't. Here's a hint for how much something costs. If you have to go to the webpage and you can't find a price, and they don't even tell you where to find a price, that's a pretty good sign you don't want to know the price. There we go. There we go. I don't even want to say that. Here's a used one on eBay. This is an actual cinema camera. This is, in fact, the camera that was used to shoot, I think it was something like 70% of this year's award nominees. A YouTuber just bought this for fun. Reminds me, I need to become a successful YouTuber. Yeah, but yep, that's And by the way, remember, this is without lens. There's no lens in this. This is just camera body. Anyway, now that I just made some hearts drop, Diablo, remember when the Pixel 3 was used for the Eminem Empire State Building scene for Jimmy Kimmel? Yes. I remember bagging on that video because that was not that good. It looked really, really mediocre. And hey, I mean, it was good for a smartphone at the time, but jeez, it just did not look good. I remember just watching that whole thing being like, I really hope they reshoot this thing using a real camera someday. Because that was a bad stunt. And it's kind of like, honestly, like think back to just this last year when Apple shot its iPhone 15 keynote on an i15 or iPhone 15, i15. Yeah, when they shot that, like it looked good, but it didn't look so good as to make me think, wow, this is spectacular. This is enough to convince me that it's shot on a like pro camera. It wasn't that good, especially because it was also lit like super precisely. They spent money on lighting that video, or on lighting that event. It when you do that, it feels fake. And people said it. People recognize it right away. Something was not right about that video. Something didn't look good. And then when they confessed, yeah, it's an iPhone 15, you know, they were proud of it. And sure, I get why. But at the same time, everyone who watched it was like, no, something's wrong here. Remember when Samsung did that? They shot a keynote on one of their older ones. I think it was, I want to say like an S20. And everyone watching that event is like, what's wrong with the video? Like, this looks horrible. How did they screw it up? Did somebody use the wrong settings or something? And then, you know, part way into it, they're like, oh, we shot this on the S20 Ultra or whatever it was. And everyone's like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have done that. we get what you're going for, but you shouldn't have tried. Maybe rethink that in the future. Wait till your camera can actually do this before you try to do this. Yeah, those were good times. And hey, I gave Samsung credit for trying it. I wouldn't say that it was the right decision to make, but I give them credit for trying. They made a valiant effort. Okay, anyway, so yeah, this time for real, I think it is a good wrap up point. We're just seconds away, well, a minute away from the 2.5 hour mark. So seems like a perfect time to wrap up. Thanks everyone for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation, keeping this thing going. It's been fun. And of course, huge thanks to those who support the channel. Diablo, Austin, Carson, David, and Curvy Mermaid. You're all awesome. I love you guys. And for those who would like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. You know, click the link, do the thing. It's awesome. I will be back this weekend for some gaming. You know the routine. And with some luck, maybe. Well, I always say this. There's a chance of photo edits. I'm going to be like tonight. I'm going to drop off the grid and be focusing on photo edits. So I don't think there's much chance I'll be streaming during that, but you never know. It could happen. But yeah, I want to try to get a big string of reviews all packed out the door in the next few days. So I'm probably going to be locked in pretty hard on that until game stream time. Well, until movie posts on Friday and then game streams over the weekend. But yeah, anyway, with that, thank you all for coming by, and I hope you have an excellent rest of the week. I'll catch you later. Good night, everybody.